Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Friday. It's June the 7th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I mean, it's been another really good trading day. Um, the first few days this was confusing, but after you see it for a few days, this additional volatility, I'm starting to kind of get the feel for it. Is that just because you see a channel and a break, it's kind of been a midline or a midpoint, and what I used here, we had a spike in channel is what we started with, but you had to be going with this trend line too. We had the break, move to a new high, and then we had a correction. And that correction was just a down move in the bigger channel really. And I had this original channel here, and let me show you. I've showed you how I do this several times lately. I just measure that channel just like so. And you can see that, and then I drop it down and I move it down to the same spot. And you can see that right there. That gave you where you got the bounce both times you got in the low side of the channel. And that's been occurring pretty regularly whether we're going up or down lately. That's just the way it is lately, so you got to go with what you got. And in the meantime, I would draw these short-term trends because every one of them gave you a signal. You got this one going up, you got the break. Let me back out just a little more now. But you can see, excuse me, you can see this one going up, you get the break, move to a new high, and then we correct it. And then we're trending down. You get a break here, a move to a new low, we broke out, made a higher low, and then we're trending up. And you can see that channel working up there, and you could have traded any one of those trades all the way back up to this line again. And then you get the break, couple legs up, and really you just kind of go into a correction here, and you really got two legs up right here. There's one leg. I think the second leg went a little further, but it went back up to this line again. But we'll just measure it. There's leg one, and then there's leg two, and you can see we went a little higher. But that's why you got to wait until you get a confirmed trend in the other direction. And then we got one here. I didn't like this trade because we're so close to this line, but when we broke lower and came back and had a trap or failed second entry long, then you got an easy trade, and you'd look for it to go back down to here and probably get some support. It could go right through there, but it didn't. And then you get a little two-legged correction back to the EMA. I didn't like going short below that first bar, but when we tried to go higher again and you got a second entry short there, I like that one, and you ride that back down and you look for it to probably bounce right off that same line, and that's what we've done. And now I'm looking possibly a little channel going up. We got some resistance right here, and we'll see if this holds right here and we go higher, or we break out of this and go lower. We'll just have to see. But it looks like we got a little channel working up here now. So draw your short-term trends and your short-term channels and go with what you see. Even if you didn't have these two upper lines, everything was here to know what was going on. And this is the only one we really, going back up, we didn't get a break of. Really, I didn't even draw any here because this was a retest, and I think this was just the second leg of the retest. But I drew it, and I wasn't, I was looking for another retest here, but we may not be going to get it till here. So whatever you got going, you got to go with it. And but notice I didn't take a short here until there was a failed second entry long that trapped everybody, and then you got a good chance of it going lower. So hopefully that makes sense, but let's back out a little more and then go talk about the trades. It's kind of early today. It's just a little after lunchtime. I've been done for an hour. I mean, there were so many easy trades today. All these trades worked out. But let's talk about them. We started out with this channel working up. It also looked a little like a trading range. You could have traded it like a trading range. There's really an entry here I meant to mark in green. Because we did have the trend line break already. And that reminds me, I probably need to mention there's always new people coming in watching the videos. A blue circle is a good long trade that meets our trading rules. A red circle is an excellent short trade that meets our trading rules. A green circle is a much more aggressive entry, but still meets our trading rules. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll try to remember to mention that from time to time and bring it up. But let's talk about, again, I saw this channel working up. We had a news item. Okay, I'm sorry, I got interrupted, and I don't even know where we left off. I think we were talking about the color. So let's talk about the first trade. We had this channel. This was kind of some new. This was the news. Unemployment and employment figures. They can be big news items, and so we had some news this morning, and that's what started this thing off. And generally, what'll happen when you get a news spike? You'll hear me say this often. It takes it back really quickly. It might move in one direction, then the other direction. You see, you kind of got an equal move down and an equal move up, and then it comes right back to where it kind of started, and it resets and it works from there. And that's typical. You'll see that. Nothing's ever written in stone when you're trading, but you will see that happen over and over. Doesn't mean it'll happen every time, so don't, be careful, but just expect that that might happen. So when suddenly prices spike up here, but then they start coming back, you know where they're probably headed. They're probably headed back to where they started, and then the market kind of resets. And you could it was still a little jittery in here, and they came back and tested that area one more time, and it held, and guess what? We've been working higher ever since, and we're testing the lower side of this channel again now. So pretty typical of what to expect on a big news. But let's talk about the trades. We had this channel, and you got an equal break out both sides. It comes back, and this is a second entry long. Notice this: first pullback, first entry, pullback, second entry. But there's also a little trap down here. Two tries to go lower, and then you got the green bar. If you didn't use a stop on this one, or if you probably didn't get filled on it. Or either that, or you put a limit order. After it broke, you put a limit order where the stop would go. Otherwise, you probably missed this one. That's just, sometimes that's the way it is, but the market was moving really, really fast. And that's what, a lot of times that's why it'll come back and test that area again, and it gives everybody a chance that missed the first entry to get back on. And that's kind of what happened here. So you didn't even need the channel you didn't need this bigger channel to trade anything I've shown you here, because there's your channel going up. You overshot it a little bit due to the news, then you broke it, and notice the two legs up to a new high. You made a double top, and you can't really start going short until you get a confirmed trend in the other way, and that didn't happen till here. And then notice it went lower first. You don't want to go short here, but when it pulled back up and went short again, there was enough room to get out before you got back down here, and definitely before you got back down here. So I felt like this one was worth taking it, and this is a second entry, so and really the second entry triggered here, but what I always do is drop a limit order in somewhere back in it. But I actually waited for this bar and waited for the break of it, and then dropped a limit order in there. Still easy trade. It did come back and get the runners pretty quick. I didn't like going short anywhere in here because of this line right here that I suspected might be here. I wasn't sure if it was here or down here. I really had it down here to begin with, but I kind of moved it up, and you can see we're testing it on both sides. Notice we got back under it and we're testing it. That's usually a good sign, because that's what happens on support and resistance. When it flip-flops, it tests it from the other side. It tested it twice, made a double top, and then this is just a two-legged pull back to the EMA, gave you a second entry short, and again, I measured this distance and dropped another line down here, and it kind of fit along those closes right there, and guess where it comes to and reverses. But again, you didn't have to have this here because you had this low here already, and so it looks like a trading range right here, and this is a bounce off of it. So now you expect it to at least go back up here. And, but we got a little trend line working up here. And I drew this, I had it a little steeper or a little flatter at first, but once we got this next move, I pulled it up, and it tended to hold the whole way up. But regardless, you're looking for prices to come up here. And But this was really aggressive. If you saw this, it broke lower first and then went higher, so you really could have gone long right there. So I had another interruption there. I'm sorry, but when it broke higher, that's a trap right here at this double bottom. If you want to trade aggressive, that you could have entered right there on that trap. It took it a minute to get going, but we already had the trend line break too, so that was another reason to be expecting a low down here, and that's where you would expect it to happen across on the low side of the channel and where this line was supposed to be. So there was all kind of what I call confluence right there. You had this support line, you had this support line, and you had this one, and then you had a trap down there as well. And then you got a second entry here. And so you definitely want to take the second entry, and it's a higher low. We've already had the trend line break, and it looks like a range, so you know you're probably going at least back to here. So second entry long right there, great entry. At least you're probably going to get a measured leg like this and probably coming back up here. This one, there was still enough room to get out. There wasn't enough room to get out if you went off the high. You could have done that, but it was a little risky. I felt like we were probably going higher here. But what I did was once it broke above, I just kind of dropped a limit order back in here far enough to give me room to get out before you got there. So that's the rule, is that if if using a stop doesn't give you room to get out before these highs, then you might want to skip the trade, or you can try a different entry technique. And what I do is I just used a limit order, and you see that you could have gotten in this trade all the way back to all the way back to 1631. And so then that gives you almost 2 points to get out, but it went right on through there, so it was no problem. And there's a little overlap too, but there's another reason I like this trade that you got to be aware of is notice that this is a new low, first entry, pull back, second entry. So it's a failed second entry short as well. So that's another reason. Those are generally going to move much higher. Usually going to get a couple of more legs after one of those if you're reading it right. And you can see we just kept going. And then we broke above, pulled back to the line, retested this breakout area. This line was kind of down here now and reversed. So you could have gone long there, and your runners would have been good on this one too. Actually, both of these, depending on how you entered it. And again, it pulls back, and there's another chance to get in. It's getting really tight here. But you got to figure now we're headed back up to here, because notice how we came back and tested that line too. So great opportunity. And then you just kind of had to sit through this to wait and see what was going to happen. And then finally you get a failed second entry short right here. You got a new low, first entry, second entry. So another trap. And you got kind of a range. So you figure you're probably going to come back up and make your new high after that little break right there. And then again, you just kind of sit and wait. And then guess what? You come down here and you test this again. So again, you got all kinds of confluence. You had your little break of the channel was really tight. You had your break and a big move, and it comes right back down here. Very similar to what it did up here. This is just a smaller pattern that looks almost exactly like that. And you'll hear me talk about what I call repeat patterns. If they work once during the day, they generally will work again. And this was a trap too. We broke out the low side. We went higher, but guess what? It didn't get out on the same bar. So you had to wait on the next bar. And when it broke higher and closed, and I waited on another break and then dropped a limit order in there. I felt like we were going up here, but you gotta handle it. You gotta handle it properly. I'm sorry, I keep getting interrupted here today, but yeah, with all this overlap, you're probably going to get a little pullback generally to come back. But I was able to scalp out of this before it even came back, so it wasn't a big deal. But then I had to wait and sit, and I waited on a trap. Notice this is a new low, first entry short, second entry short. So this is a second entry long and a failed second entry short that traps shorts. And so another trap similar to what we had earlier. And look at that thing rocket on up. Another great easy trade. and then you just kind of had to sit until we got a confirmed trend coming down. I didn't like going short here because it was so close to this line, and a lot of times you'll bounce off that line twice and then go higher again. So but notice here you got a new high, first entry long, pull back, second entry long. So that's a failure and a big reversal, nice reversal bar. Go short right there, and you figure you're coming back to here at least. And notice how it closed underneath right there at that line. You know, my guess is we're coming to here, but you know you're going to come to at least here. And another easy scalp, they come right back and get the runners. But then you got a second entry short right here, a little lower high, and then it makes its move on down to exactly where you think it's going, where the line is. And if you find these lines, you know exactly what's going on. And that was the last trade I took. But now looking at this, you got another more, you know, similar. It's just kind of a similar setup as down there. Look at that reversal bar right off the line. And then you got another chance right here, and that's 2 legs back, so that's a second entry long. So let's circle that one too. And you can see what most people did. This one broke higher, and then people probably dropped limit orders in there, and it backs up and it gets you in the trade. And you know, you want to get in as far, but notice the break. Notice this little channel we had a break, so we're probably going to at least make a new higher. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't just keep working higher because we're still in this bigger channel. We'll just have to see what happens. But another really easy trade, and that was really what I saw for today. So I was done early today. And you know, hopefully you had a good trading day as well. It's Friday, so I'm not going to mess around here today. I'm going to wrap this up, and so I can get out of here. But I did want to say this. A lot of people have asked me, or I won't say a lot of people, but lately I get a lot of questions. Once you have a trend line break and a new high on a more major trend like this, normally what will happen is you'll get, it doesn't mean you're going to get a reversal. It means you're going to get a correction. And a correction, this is a correction right here, and the correction will usually last at least an hour. That's my findings. So I'm finding that, you know, it doesn't mean you're going to get a reversal, but finally here we got kind of a reversal pattern, and now we're trying to go higher again. But yes, just like yesterday, we had the big channel working down, and we got the break and the new low, and then guess what? And it just, the trend changed, and you know, we got a new trend, and boy, that was a heck of a trend yesterday. And then it's just more of the same kind of today. We're still going higher, but just when you get the break of that trend line, the rule is you're going to get a retest with a new low in most cases, and you can see that's the case usually even on these smaller channels. You know, that helps keep you on the right side in the meantime or in the interim. And you know what we do, let's just assume we're trading this up right here and we haven't gotten anything else yet. Wait till you get the break and the retest, and then wait till you get a confirmed trend line in the other direction before you consider going short, which you might, you know, actually I'm going to circle this one right here. I didn't take it, but this is a good example. We went higher, we had a double top, a little lower low, and a failed second entry long. So that's a trap, and it's at this highs, and so generally those traps, but it is kind of counter trend because the momentum is still up. So I'm going to mark it in green, but that was that's an easy trap right there if you saw it. And notice we didn't get the trap on this move down till here. And that's what I generally wait on. I generally wait on confirm. And normally I would have probably taken that second entry short right there, and I think it still would have worked. Entry was 38.50, and now if you use the stop, it missed it by a tick. But again, that's, you know, a lot of times that's why when there's stems and overlap, I'll drop a limit order in there, and it looks like you could have got filled on that all the way back a couple of ticks. So, and then you got out. But even if you didn't, as long as you're stopped, this is your signal bar right here, and as long as your stop's above it, you were still in this trade. And so But yeah, just remember that a break of the trend line and a retest with success doesn't mean you automatically start going short. You need a trap or a confirmed trend line in the other direction or something of that nature. Don't be so eager to counter trend trade, because look, that's what got all these people in here. They're trying to go short and they get fooled and take it higher. And same thing here. They're all trying to get short and then we're taking it long higher. So if you don't have a trend line that you know is valid, don't be trading in the opposite direction. And simple as that. And notice that once this was over, once I knew we were out of this trading range, I didn't really mark any shorts again until the rules showed us that it was time to go short again. And so this will, it's an interesting day. And you can see this trend channel line is still holding. We got a little break there now, though. It'd be interesting to see if we get back in it and go higher or not. But I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you had a good week, a good day today, and we'll see you next week. I'll only be trading a few days next week, and then I'll be leaving for Brazil, but I'll remind you before I head out, and I'll be back in here Monday. But we'll go from there. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.